Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Chatter Up with me, Alex. Alright, so like always, if you haven't already, go ahead and like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media pages. I do have all the links and the list of the streaming services where you can find Chatter Up in the description box below. So if you could also help spread the word and share this podcast, whether it be on social media or just word of mouth advertising, I would greatly appreciate that. I would like to get this to as many baseball fans as possible. Alright, so with that being said, let's get into today's episode. We're continuing our off-season reviews for all the 30 teams in baseball. And for today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the Texas Rangers. We're also going to review their off-season moves, like I just said, and then we're going to take a look at their roster for the 2021 season. Now, let's step into the Chatters box. Alright, so like we always do, we're just going to go over their 2020 regular season and some of their team rankings and standout players and all that good stuff. Alright, so with 2020, they were 22 and 38. Not great, obviously. 5th in the AL West and 29th in MLB overall. So for some of their hitting stats, they were ranked 29th in runs with 224. Average at 217, slugging percentage at 364, and an OPS of 648. Those are all their team rankings, and they were all in 29th place, so next to last in all of those, which is definitely not where you want to be on the offensive side. They were ranked 11th in the triples with 9, but then they go right back down to the bottom. They were 23rd, or tied for 23rd in home runs with 62. They were last in RBIs with 204, and then they struck out 548 times and only walked 167. So not good at all on the offensive side. Absolutely terrible numbers for them. And honestly, it doesn't get much better with their pitching, unfortunately. They were 23rd in ERA last year with a 5.02, 28th in saves. They were 10 for 19. They were tied 9th for most home runs given up with 81, 23rd in strikeouts with 489, 4th most walks given up with 236. They were middle of the pack with a batting average against. They were 16th with a 242, and then 21st in WHIP with a 138. So again, definitely not the best stats. And as you can see, that's why they were ranked next to last in MLB with their record. They did have a couple good standout players, though, last year for them. I have 4 listed here, just for my personal list. They had their third baseman, I think he played a little bit of shortstop, too, Isaiah Kiner Falefa. He led the team in average, in on-base percentage, and hits. So his average was 280. His on-base percentage was 329, OPS of 699, and then he had 59 hits. He also led the team in triples with 3. He was tied for 7th on the team with 3 home runs. 6th on the team in RBIs with 10. He was tied for 1st with 8 steals. And then he led the team in runs scored with 28. So not bad. He was definitely their team MVP last year, obviously. And then next I got left fielder Nick Solak. I think he also plays a little bit of second base. He was 2nd on the team last year in OPS, or not OPS, sorry, in average and on base percentage. He had 268 average, 326 on base percentage, a 671 OPS. He was also 2nd on the team in hits with 56. He led the team in doubles with 10. He had 2 home runs, 3rd on the team in RBIs with 23. He was 2nd on the team in steals with 7. And then he was also 2nd on the team in runs with 27. So they're your top 2 MVP players right there, back to back. They also had a good debut season from their number 2 prospect, catcher Sam Huff. In 10 games, he batted .355 with a .394 on base. He had OPS of 1.136, which is really good. And he had 3 home runs and 4 RBIs. So in 10 games, that's really good. I really think, though, probably start him out in the minors this year, but then he'll definitely get called up later in the season, especially if they start struggling. And another person I thought they did pretty good for their debut season was a shortstop, Anderson Tejada. He's their number 8 prospect. He wasn't really good on the hitting side, but he's a decent fielder. He was a 253 average, 273 on base, and a 726 OPS. He had 3 home runs and 8 RBIs and 4 steals in 23 games. So like I said, he wasn't the best, but I definitely think there's a lot of promise for him in the future. All right, so let's get into some key offseason subtractions that the Rangers had this past offseason. So the first one I have listed here is utility man Danny Santana. He signed a 1-year deal with the Red Sox recently. Last year he batted a 145 average with 1 home run and 7 RBI, so not the greatest. So they didn't really lose much, but like I said, he's a utility player. He could play literally, I think, everywhere besides catcher. They also lost relief pitcher Jesse Chavez. He signed a minor league contract with the Angels. Actually, going back to the Angels, he played there a couple times. He also didn't have the best season. He had a 6.88 ERA and 13 strikeouts. One of the big losses they had, though, is Lance Lynn, one of basically their ace from last year. Actually, not basically, he was their ace. They traded him to the Red Sox this past offseason for Dane Dunning, who is now their number 3 prospect. He's a good right-handed pitcher, and a left-handed pitcher, Avery Weems. They also lost Rafael Montero, who they traded to the Mariners, for Jose Cornel, who is now their number 29 prospect. He was probably their closer last year for most of the season. He was 8 for 8 in saves. He had 19 strikeouts, 6 walks, a 190 batting average against, and a 1.02 whip. That's pretty good. They also lost Corey Kluber in the offseason, who he signed with the Yankees. He didn't play much last year. He had I think they were talking today, he had a torn Terry's major or minor muscle. So he only pitched less than an inning in 2020. They also traded away Elvis Andrews, their starting shortstop. They traded him to the Athletics for Aramis Garcia, for outfielder Chris Davis, Jonah Weem, who's a good catching prospect, who's now their number 26 prospect in the system, and Dane Acker, right-handed pitcher. And then, last but not least, I got listed here, they lost a utility guy, Derek Dietrich, who also signed with the Yankees last year. Alright, so let's get into some key offseason additions that the Rangers had. I've already talked about him before. They got right-handed pitcher Dane Dunning, who was a really good young right-handed pitcher. Last year, he went 2-0 with a 3.97 ERA, 35 strikeouts, 13 walks, a 197 batting average against, and a 1.12 whip in 7 starts, which is not bad. I think there's a lot of promise. I think he will definitely be the team's ace in the coming years. They acquired Nate Lowe from the Rays. That's a good power bat. He plays first base. They got outfielder David Dahl, who signed a 1-year deal with them. He came over from the Rockies. They got actually a guy from Japan. He got right-handed pitcher Kohei Arihara. He signed a 2-year deal with them. And then in 2020, he went 8-9 with a 3.46 ERA. He had 106 strikeouts, 30 walks, and a 1.17 whip in 20 games. So not bad. Definitely a good signing for them. Maybe a Lance Lynn replacement, maybe, kind of. We'll see. They also got Delino DeShields back on a minor league contract. And then, like I said before, they got Chris Davis from the Athletics in that trade. They signed right-handed pitcher Mike Foltynewicz, I think his last name is. He signed a 1-year deal. And then they got utility man Brock Holt on a minor league deal. And they got right-handed pitcher Ian Kennedy on a minor league deal. So not bad. They added a lot of good, risky pieces. but low risk or low risk, high reward, really. All right, so now let's get into the potential 2021 lineup for the Rangers. This is how I would personally do it. It probably won't be their opening day lineup, but it'll be somewhat to their everyday lineup in the future, I think. So how I would do it, I would have David Dahl leading off, playing left, Nick Solak batting second, Isaiah Kiner Falefa playing third, batting third, Joey Gallo playing right field, and then I would switch, probably platoon, Chris Davis and Rougned Odor at DH, uh, batting fifth, and then batting sixth, I would have Anderson Tejada playing short. Batting seventh, I would have Nate Lau playing first. Batting eighth, I would have Sam Huff catching. And then batting ninth, I would have Leody Tavares playing center field. Like I said, there's multiple ways you could do any lineup, but that's just how I would personally do it. Alright, let's get into some rotation options for them in the 2021 season. I have, I think, 7 listed here. So from the returning side, they got right-handed pitcher Kyle Gibson, who went 2-6 for him last year with a 5.35 ERA, 58 strikeouts to 30 walks, 275 batting average against, 1.53 WHIP, and 67 in the third inning. They also got left-handed pitchers Kobe Allard and Taylor Hearn, who were both pretty decent for them last year. They have right-handed pitcher Kyle Cody, who's their number 24 prospect. He went 1-1 last year with a 1.59 ERA, 18 strikeouts to 11 walks, and a 0.19 batting average against, and then a 1.24 WHIP in 22 and 2/3 innings pitched. So that's pretty good for your debut. I think if he gets those walks in control and a little more strikeouts, he'll definitely be a promising young pitcher. But then on the signed side or the acquired side, they also have 3 other pitchers. They could start Kohei Arihara, who I'm assuming is going to be in their everyday rotation. They have that Kyle Fulton-Newitz, and then again Dane Dunning. So we'll see what they come up with coming out of spring training. But they do have a lot of good young options. Alright, so they already announced their 2021 closer is going to be a right-handed pitcher, Jose Leclerc. He didn't do that bad last year. He only pitched 2 innings because he had a torn right teres muscle as well. Same with Kluber. He did have a 4.50 ERA. He was 1-for-1 in saves, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks, a 250 batting average against, and a 2.00 WHIP. So like I said, that's only 2 innings. So you can't really base that off much, but shouldn't be too bad coming out of the bullpen. Alright, so just a few more things to cover here. Let's hop into some key players to watch for next season. I got Joey Gallo. He did not have his best year last year. He went 181 average, 301 on base, and a 679 OPS. He did lead the team in home runs with 10. And had 26 RBIs, but he struck out 79 times in 193 at-bats, so basically half the time. He was hitting a bomb or striking out. Not good. I would also watch Chris Davis. I know he didn't have his best year last year either. Kohei Arihara, Dane Dunning. I think he's going to be fantastic for them in the future. Sam Huff, like I was talking about, he's a good young catching prospect for them. And then I would also keep an eye on the number 1 prospect, Josh Kuhn, who is their third base prospect. He batted .316 with a .389 on base and an .832 OPS with 14 doubles, 2 home runs, and 28 RBIs in just 44 games in 2019. So that's not bad. Alright, so let's start to predict some of the team MVPs, Cy Young's and Rookie of the Year for the Rangers. I think the team MVP for this year is going to be Gallo. I don't think he's going to get I don't think he's going to hit for a very high average again this year, but I think he will hit a lot of bombs and hit in a lot of RBIs. So for my prediction for his stats next year, I think he's going to hit around 230 with a 310 on base and a 800 OPS. I think he'll hit 40 home runs and probably hit like 100 to 110 RBIs. But I think there will still be a lot of strikeouts, unfortunately. For the team Cy Young for the Rangers, I think it's going to be Dane Dunning next year. I think he could go maybe 15-8, maybe 15-10, or 500. It's a toss-up. But really, around a 3.3 ERA, 180 strikeouts to 50 walks. I think he'll have a 210 to 220 batting average against, and probably like a 1.2, 1.3 whip. And then for the Rookie of the Year, I think it's going to be, like I was talking about earlier, Josh Kung. I think he's going to come up and have a good impact on their lineup. I don't think he's going to get called up right away, probably towards the end of the season, so I think he's going to bat around like a 280, probably have like 15 to 20 doubles, anywhere from like 5 to 10 home runs and 60 RBIs. I've noticed he doesn't really hit for a lot of power, but he does hit a lot of extra base hits. So those are definitely some guys to be on the lookout for this season. Alright, so let's also predict their team record and placement for this upcoming season. I really think they're going to be like a 60 to 70 win team. I don't see them winning much more than that. Maybe 72 wins at the most. Maybe. And then I think they're going to finish last in the AL West again. And I don't really see them jumping over the Mariners. They made a lot of decent moves this offseason. Definitely not the Astros or the Angels. I don't see it for them this year. I will give their offseason grade a solid C. They did make some solid moves that improved their everyday roster, and they also added some decent talent to their farm system in the process. However, they were not able to make that eye-popping acquisition. They were reportedly in talks for Arenado with the Rockies for the longest time, but they just couldn't get anything to go into fruition. But with that being said, I think they are definitely a few years off from contending again, but brighter days are ahead for the Rangers. Alright, everybody, that is it for this episode. Again, go ahead and like us on all our social media. I have the link in the descriptions. And then thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Chatter Up.